Hello, I'm Dr. Kimberly Douglas, and I am the chief contributor to the Substack, The Learning Landscape, where we are mapping 21st century learning. I am so excited to talk to you today, as always, but really excited today because a lot of things have come together for me over the past week. I'm going to do a recap of what we talked about last week and then get into some specifics for this week. So, with the learning landscape, over this, a period of time, I've been talking about the traditional educational environment and the non-traditional education environment. So traditional education environment, colleges and universities, K-12 schools, we're mostly talking about adults. So colleges, universities, trade schools, community colleges, professional development programs. So that's more in the traditional space. The non-traditional space, podcast, YouTube videos, games, digital communities, coaching programs, all of those come together to create this vast learning landscape where people are learning. So this also includes the learning management systems such as Coursera, Udemy, Teachable, Thinkific, Kajabi. So all of these come together to form this vast digital and in real life, in-person learning environment. And what occurred to me over this week, I've been talking to startup founders and putting out content that speaks to startup founders. And what occurred to me this week about this Substack is what I've been getting at is the kind of resources that are offered by EdTech. So what EdTech is doing is bringing together both the traditional and the non-traditional environment. So if I had to identify one set of containers that really speak to what I've been saying here on this Substack, it would be EdTech. So I'm going to back up, do a recap of what I talked about last week, and then talk about why this set of containers really gets to what I'm talking about here. Last week, I was talking to startup founders and putting out the message that when you create an app or a tech product, tech services, you are building out the learning landscape, even if you're not doing it intentionally for educational purposes. And this happens two ways. Number one, by putting out a tech tool that people engage with, you now create an environment where people need the skills to be able to operate inside your app. So I want us to just pause for a moment and think about all the things we've learned in the past 5 years. If you create on TikTok, if you create on YouTube, if you communicate on Facebook, I want you to pause for a moment and think about all the skills you had to learn. So you may take it for granted now because it's like, hey, I've always been on Facebook, but you had to learn the skills necessary to be able to function in that environment. So at one point, all of these were startups. So number one, these apps are educational because you have to have a certain skill level to engage with them. Number two, even inside the app, whatever the engagement is, whatever information is being provided. So even if the people running the app don't explicitly have an ebook or webinar or workshops or whatever, the information they're providing inside that infrastructure is educational in some way because you're learning, you're functioning inside the app. And the example I gave is I referenced 404 Not Forgotten, which is a Substack you should check out here in this environment, and building up of the Etherith app. The Etherith app will address archiving and storing memories. So inside that app, there's an opportunity to learn about memory and archiving and artifacts and all that. So there's a certain amount of education that's involved that is very specific to that company. And so that's basically my recap from last week, which is you have to have skills to function inside these apps. Then inside the apps, there's an educational process, there's content, there's subject matter that you learn inside these apps. And it just got me thinking, and it led to a lot of good content that I was able to put out this week and thinking about startup founders. The whole premise of the conversation last week was about the type of data that founders need in order to support that type of activity. And I was talking about how you have to know who you are creating the app for, what problem you're solving with the app. Do they see it as a problem? Do they want a solution to that problem? And do they want your solution to that problem? And that led to just a deeper level of engagement throughout the week with different startup founders. And I really got to thinking this week about how to go deeper instead of wider. And I'm still having conversations with founders in general. But in particular, I started to look closer at the EdTech founders because I started to see how that connects with the message that I've been putting out here. And I'm going to go into this article that comes from Future Market Insights, and I will make this link available inside of this Substack post so you can see it for yourself. I'm going to read from this because it articulates very well, it states very well why I'm talking about EdTech and why I'm focused on EdTech this week. And by the way, this conversation is totally unscripted. I'm going off pure vibes today, but these are well-informed vibes from talking to startup founders, from engaging on through content, from looking through searches and looking for articles. The light bulb has just really, really come on because ed tech gives me a place to land. It gives me a place to land what's happening here in this Substack. If that's not making sense, I'll keep working on the messaging, but I want to direct your attention to ed tech. Keep your eyes open for the next 6 months to a year because chickens are coming home to roost. We are going to see very clearly how fragile and how vulnerable our education systems are. We're already seeing it. We're already seeing things that are happening with Harvard and Columbia and the way they are, there's a certain compliance that is expected from them by the federal government. Harvard can push back. And there may be about 5 other major institutions that can push back. But the system itself was already fragile. As a person who worked in academia, as a staff person, as faculty, tenured faculty, and as an administrator, I saw the sausage being made. And I know how fragile this system, the ecosystem is inside of higher education. And so there's so many threads for the federal government and other entities to pull on that make these systems even more fragile, that make colleges and universities, their existence even more fragile. And so, yes, some of them will be able to push back, but a lot of them will not be able to push back. What this is also exposing is just the delicate nature of the infrastructure that is provided through higher education. It is a very fragile situation. Some things outdated, some things innovative, but a lot of things, depending upon how your institution is resourced, is outdated. So I am predicting this boom of ed tech because what's going to have to happen is you're going to have to replace that infrastructure. The alternative is to just let it all die. That is the alternative. And of course, there's some things in between, but just to illustrate the point or to make the point. But there are going to be lots of people saying that they are doing ed tech. And they're going to be saying this because there are going to be holes in the system, apparent hole. Like there are lots of holes right now, but there are going to be apparent holes in the system in the months to come. So we're going to have to patch those holes, or we're going to have to create learning systems that takes care of the needs of people who want to learn how to do things, who want to be workforce ready, who want to do the professional development. And I'm going to read here from this EdTech market report, the Pillars of Progress in the EdTech Sphere. So some of the things that the infrastructure of EdTech is providing is administrative efficiency. So administrative, digital tools for administrative tasks, teaching, learning, and assessment is part of EdTech. So if you're thinking about what's next for you, let me step back for a moment and just say that, hold on, I lost my space here. Let me step back for just a moment. I'm going to pause and come back. Okay, I found my place. I clicked off, it went into another tab. I want to share with you that when I came into this market, I came from academia where things were fixed. You know, we had a schedule, we had semesters. Going from that to trying to sell courses in the marketplace, trying to hire coaches, trying to connect with the right coaches. The concept of selling a course has never quite, even though I'm a person who sold courses and believe that there's some benefit to selling courses, it never quite connected with me in a holistic way because I feel like it's part of something else and I see it now. The thing is, courses are still marketable. But what is missing is infrastructure. So some of the infrastructure that helps you sell courses include the learning management systems, but there's a learning management system over here, a student registration system over here, a student engagement center over here. So there are all these different things in all these different places. And so when we think about what the innovation is going to be in EdTech, it has to be something that brings us all together. Even with accreditation, so there are accrediting agencies that will accredit your individual courses or your program. They will accredit you without your having to be part of an institution. But even those, there was something missing for me. And for me, it's just, and one of the things that they look at is your infrastructure, your systems. But even as we get into the accreditation conversation, it's important to connect that to the infrastructure, the sustainability, the connection to administrative aspects, to teaching, to learning, to assessment, all of those things being connected together in some sort of infrastructure that you create through EdTech. Okay. And then here it talks about the globalization of education, offering products worldwide, and what the EdTech platforms, they let people learn languages, collaborate across cultural boundaries, and access global educational resources. The EdTech market is expanding through government spending, laws, and programs. And so what's happening now with the federal government is new winners and losers are being chosen. And I know that sounds crass, but that is exactly what's happening. But the United States government is not the only government out there. And also you have 50 separate governments in the states, and you also have local governments as well. So you have markets worldwide. You have markets like at a federal level, at a regional level, at a state level, and at a local level. You also have nonprofits as well. So if you think about ed tech and something you might want to build and putting a team together, consult, think about what nonprofits need. Think about what local governments need for their training programs. Think about what state governments need. Think about what the federal government needs. Think about what the traditional institutions need. Because the infrastructure is going to have to come from outside of those traditional environments as they seek new allies and new partnerships. Also with EdTech, people are looking for personalized learning experiences. And this is what I've been talking about this is like my whole thing about mapping the learning landscape. That what people have been doing is piecing together curricula for themselves. And they piece it together through podcasts, through Substacks, through TikToks, through Facebook posts, through games. And very strategic, tactical ed tech will bring those things together. And so personalized learning that captures people's preferences and providing solutions for data analytics and insights and AI-driven content, right? So we can't forget about AI. That definitely is a big player here in making it so that people can roll out these tools, these apps, these systems, roll them out a lot quicker. So those are some of my main thoughts about EdTech, and that's really what I've been talking about here on this Substack, but not talking about it directly, not making those connections, but I finally made those connections. One of the things I will be teaching soon is information architecture. And in information architecture, it is about how people navigate through websites and social media and different sites. And I think about ed tech and navigation. And the type of ed tech that we needs to help people curate and navigate all of the learning opportunities out there. Now, granted, you can't do it all, but you can do a piece of it. You can help with pieces of it. And whether that is an app for a nonprofit or an app that teaches us a certain set of skills, I encourage you to go look at the ed tech solutions. If you think you want to build a course, of course, I am happy to talk to you about building a course. If you think you want to develop a workshop or webinar, I'm happy to talk to you about that. Even if you're not a tech person, because of all the tools that are out there, there's so much space now for non-technical founders to build a tech project. So many tools, so many resources, so many contractors, software engineers looking for work that can help you build as a non-technical founder. I strongly encourage you to think about, this is a call to action. I strongly encourage you to think about what you could be building, what part of the infrastructure, not just the content. So there's hardware, there's software, there's content. So what part of the infrastructure, the hardware and the software, just a moment. So what part of the hardware and the software? So that's the infrastructure, the things that make it run, not just the content. And that's what I've been talking about here in the learning landscape. I've been talking about the content. Yes, we can talk about content and what you can push out, but I encourage you to also think about what you can build to help make things run, help make things go. The software, the hardware, make things go. You can do that. Investigate that a little bit further. Go back to what I was saying last week. Do the people that you're creating courses for, do they want a course? Or do they really want engagement? Do they want a workshop or do they want a different type of engagement? How much tech versus touch do they want? Or how much touch, human interaction do they want versus how much tech do they want? But you don't know unless you are actively talking to them. And the time to talk to them, to find out where you can show up in this educational landscape is before you create anything. But if you've created something, now is also the best time to talk to people. So now is the time. And when I say go talk to people, if you've already created something, I'm not saying go talk to them about the product or the service you've created. I'm saying talk to them about what's important to them. Find out what's happening for them. Why is this even of interest for them? Talk to them about them. Decenter yourself, decenter your product, decenter your service. I cannot even express to you, this is my excited face. I cannot even express to you how excited I am that this message is coming through me more clearly than it was before, that I have a container. I can suggest a container for you to move this forward. I feel very empowered by that because that is going to really help shape my conversation in the future. It improves my offerings here on this Substack, and it focuses my attention in a very important way And with that focus, I have more to offer. I have more conversation to offer, a deeper conversation, more quality conversation to offer. So if you think you want to create, and let's say that you have felt stuck and you didn't want to do a course, or you didn't want to do an ebook, you didn't want to do, but you wanted to do something. You wanted to create something where you are educating in some way. It may not be, you have more options than developing a curriculum or trying to teach something. You can actually be part of the infrastructure that makes it possible for other people to teach, or you to teach, they teach, you teach a small part of it, or you develop a small part of the curriculum. There are many, because we have to come together. And we have to think about the systems as they are crumbling and being torn down, deliberately torn down. They're going to have to be replaced by systems. And the way that you replace systems is not with individual effort. Courses are great, but individual effort for your one course is not going to replace those systems. We need people who are thinking about systems. If you're a pattern reader, if you're a systems thinker, if you're a dot connector, think about who you need to be working with. And it may be that you need to work alone for a while to get your ideas together, and that is okay. That is just fine. But think about who you need to be working with to bring this all together. Take your time in isolation and in quiet, alone time to work it out. And then when you're ready to work with other people, just know that we need your ideas in the marketplace. We need for you to be a systems person. We need for you to be thinking about how to connect the dots. We need for you to be thinking about the access that is going to be missing when disabled children, when school becomes inhospitable to them, and quite frankly, threatening, or a very negative place. There's a word I'm searching for, I can't find it. But when it becomes a place where they can't be, and we are definitely heading in that direction. I'm not fear mongering. I'm telling you what I'm seeing in front of me. When it becomes that kind of place, we will need systems. And this is where we need for you to clock in. We need for you to clock in. Even if you didn't want to do those things, those options that you seemed limited to in the past, we need for you to dust off your notebook, sweep it off, get your pen out, metaphorically speaking, and get busy. I want you to think about EdTech. So I'm inviting you, if you think you're interested in EdTech at all, regardless of what your technical skills are or are not, I want to talk to you. You can email me. You can comment here on this Substack, but let's talk about it. Even if you don't have an idea and you just want to keep this conversation going, or you want to see me take this conversation from here to another place, let me know that. I need your feedback on this. I need your passion on this. I need your input on this. I need for you to show me that you are plugged into this conversation, because I need people following me who are plugged into this conversation. This isn't no longer just putting out content. That's not what we're doing here. We are imagining the systems that need to happen. We are imagining the roads, using a different metaphor. We are imagining the roads we need to pave, the pathways we need. It's go time. It is absolutely go time, and you're going to really see that within the next few months. This has been my pleasure to facilitate this conversation. And I'm saying facilitate because I wanted to go further than me sitting here talking on a microphone. We have work to do. We need to get busy. Let me know what you're thinking about this. Even if you're not ready to build a single thing, let me know what you're thinking about. Let me know about the team you want to put together, or the team you think should be together. Let me know about the content that needs to be out. I'm going to be thinking about next week and talking about next week and how to frame this, but I'm going to continue this conversation. It has been my pleasure to facilitate the conversation. This is the Learning Landscape, where we are mapping 21st century learning. We got really much closer this week than in the past. But all of our efforts have been important, have led up to this moment. And I want us to keep going, keep going, keep going. Take care. Goodbye.